that is interesting, and I want to share that with you. And this is, I'm going to bring up, this is my book on Daniel, commentary on Daniel. And when we get to chapter 9, we have the prophecies being fulfilled. Daniel realizes that it's supposed to be 70 weeks, and then they go home. And then he looks at the calendar and realizes, hey, that's next week. So he begins to pray, Lord, forgive us, take us home like you promised, the time's up. And so he gives this really long prayer. And then we get, this is the prayer, and then Gabriel arrives and says, I'm going to give you a prophecy. And we understand this a little bit better now because of the calendar, but I want to focus on just one part of this because this is really interesting. He says there's going to be 70 weeks to fulfill all prophecy. And it's going to be split up into 3 pieces. There's a set of 7 weeks of years is 49 years. So there's one whole Jubilee there from when the decree happens to when they finish building the temple and the wall and stuff like that, or Jerusalem and the wall rather. And then there's another 63 weeks of years, 490 basic years. And then, or 483 rather. And then there's one last week, one 7-year period. And he begins to explain each one of these things. Now, this is what's really interesting. And this is the prophecy here, and we can read it in Scripture. But it comes out to be 32 AD. And how we know this is, let's see if I have it in here. Okay, let me just read this part here to you. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1 is recorded that the decree that comes. So let me back up just for a second. This is what the angel Gabriel tells Daniel. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth there's going to be this commandment to restore and build Jerusalem. Not necessarily the temple being completed, but there's a command to go back and restore Jerusalem, the city. From that, understand that from that commandment, the date that happens, unto the Messiah, the Prince, the Messiah, that everyone's looking for, shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks, and the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. But after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off. So if you take that 490, and you've got the 62 weeks and the 7 weeks, that gets up to 69. So you've got 1 week left, or one set of 7 years. But it's after this that the Messiah is cut off. Now, Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1 records when this happens. It says that it was in the 20th year of the Persian king Artaxerxes. Now, Encyclopedia Britannica, I quoted in here, says that he took the throne in July of 465 BC. So his 20th year then would start July of 445 BC. Okay. Now we're told that when this happened, the decree, it's in the month of Nisan. So it has to be in that. So it has to go past what we would call New Year's. So it gets us down to March of 444 BC. That's when the decree was given. So from that point forward, so many weeks of years, the Messiah is cut off. That's what we're being told. So let's see here. Now, there was the easiest way to figure this out because of the calendars. There was a guy called Julius Africanus, who's one of the church fathers, and his works are in eSword. Remember our eSword product? You can get this for free, and it's got all the Bibles and the commentaries. You also have, and I've got Gad here. These are the other books. But if you go to, do I not have them on here? Maybe I don't have them on here. Anyway, in here you can get the Ante-Nicene Fathers. So in there it would be Julius Africanus. It's a 10-volume encyclopedia, so it's a lot of reading. But anyway, you can get all this stuff for free. So you can double check things. But let me get back here. I was in chapter 50 of the Psalms today. Found something really interesting, but we'll talk about that later. So he writes this book called On the Weeks of This Prophecy, and he begins to tell you that from this time forward is when Messiah was crucified, but this is the way you do it. It's a Jewish calendar, and he changes it so it fits on the Roman calendar, because they do things differently with the leap years and all that stuff. So he tells us how to calculate it. So basically, this is it here. We convert the Jewish prophetic calendar to the Gregorian Roman calendar this way. We take the 483 years, that's the 490 minus that 7-year period, the tribulation period. So it's 483. So that should be from the decree to when Messiah is cut off. So we take the 483 times 360 days per year. Not 364, not 365, but the calendar days, okay? So 365 days per year, which equals 173,880 days. So that, counting that number of days on the modern calendar, this is a riddle basically, comes up to 476 years and 21 days. And here's the math. So if we start on March 14th, 444 BC, plus 476 years, that comes out to March 14th, 31 AD. Okay, there's no 0 year between BC and AD, so we always have to add a year when you're going from BC to AD. So that brings us to, would be March 14th, 32 AD, okay? But then we have the extra 21 days. So if you tack on the 21 days, the date arrives to be April 6th, 32 AD. Now, the interesting thing about this is everyone has taught this and said this is what the prophecy dictates. Messiah is cut off April 6th, 32 AD. Chuck Missler's taught that. I have. Many people have taught that. But critics have come back and said, but that doesn't work. Let me run back to the calendar here again just to show you. So taking this for an example, April 6th would be here. And people have said if you go back to 32 AD, and I haven't done it with the lunar phases for some computer program, but everybody says if you go back to 32 AD, the full moon is like 2 weeks later, so it'd be way up here. So there's no way it could be on Passover. It's got to be wrong. And people have said, well, maybe it's Palm Sunday. It's when he came in. It's sometime that after that he gets killed. And that doesn't fit the prophecy either, because it should be on that day. It would be weird to say from here exactly so many days is a cutoff, and then a week or 2 or 3 or sometime thereafter something happens. That's just kind of odd. So it had to have occurred on April 6th. Okay, that particular time. So, and it's different every year because we have a changing. So, March 20th is the actual, on our Gregorian calendar, March 20th is always the actual solstice. And so what we want to do is we let because it's 364 days, not 365. So every year it goes back either 1 or 2 days. If it's a leap year or regular year, it goes back. So it keeps falling back. And when you get past 3 days, then you add a leap week, which puts it 3 days ahead. And then it begins to come back again. So every 5 to 6 years, you add a leap week. And for instance, this year we have a leap week because New Year's would be on March 16th. That's more than 3 days away from the 20th, right? So we have to add a leap week, which would put it back on the 23rd, which is within that 3-day cycle. So I just wanted to show you that. So in any way, so you've got it has to be within a week. So they were saying it can't be right because it's 2 weeks later that we have a full moon. But if we're using this calendar and not the Pharisee convoluted lunar calendar, the new moon has nothing to do with the situation. So if that's the case, if we're at March 20th, give or take 3 days, and we're going to go up basically 14 days to Passover. Okay. So that gives us, well, actually, it would be the unleavened bread, the time that he resurrected. So we're talking about 19 days afterwards. Okay. So 19 days after March 20th would be, let's see here, would be April 6th or April 7th, depending on how you do that, would be the last possible day for that prophecy to work, to be on a Resurrection Sunday. Okay, it could not be after April 6th, and it could not be before March 30th. It has to fit in that window. Now, if you're doing the lunar calendar, it's got a 2 weeks on either side. It's a full month because it's a 30-day period, because they always start at the lunar cycle, not the weekly cycle. In this case, it's always give or take 3 days. So I think it's interesting that the prophecy said April 6th, and it has to be between March 30th and April 6th, or probably the 31st. Yeah, March 31st to April 6th, that 7-day period. It has to be in there to be correct, and the prophecy said it was April 6th that year. So it's really interesting. So people would say it can't be right because there's no full moon. There's not supposed to be a full moon. And that's been the problem calculating these all this time. So again, the prophecies are correct. The calendar looks like it's correct. The naysayers, because it doesn't quite fit right, apparently it does, and it fits to the day. So that's pretty interesting. So we could try going back, like this is the 21st, or 2021 rather. If we go to 2020, we'll see what it was. So Passover, March that. So 20, let's make it 19. It should go down 3 and then flip back around. So April 2nd, or actually we're talking about this one here. So April 7th is the last possible day for that. So let's go back to 20 and see what 20 was. April 5th. So we're having a leap year somewhere in there. So it's between the 7th and the 5th. So it would be the 6th. That would be the date that the Lord would have resurrected in 32 AD. So I just wanted to share that with you. So again, what we've done is we've looked at the calendar, the Essene calendar, and explained why Jesus didn't die on Good Friday. Jesus died on the Passover day, preparation day for the Passover, before the 15th, when he should have, which would have been on a Wednesday. And he would be in the ground 3 days and 3 nights, which gets him to Saturday night. Why the first fruits is not here, but here, if we knew what the ritual was, we'd know exactly why. And that stuff is still somewhat hidden to us. But we know Jesus resurrected here, and the prophecy from Daniel 9 shows that he had to have been resurrected that year on the 6th of April. So this year it would be the 5th of April. So you can see, give or take a day. But it can't be 2 weeks later on the full moon, because it would not fit the prophecy. So really, really interesting to me. So there's a lot of other things we could talk about, the Passover Seder, the rituals involved in it. I encourage you to look those up. If you can, go to a Messianic congregation when they do the Passover rituals. Study it online. There's a lot of good films about what each piece means and things like that. So we will go ahead and stop.